All right. Hey, thanks so much, all of you in the chat room that are hanging out with us tonight. At 9 o'clock on a Sunday night, we appreciate you. We hope that the next hour is going to be an hour of Amazon power that you're going to hear from four veteran sellers who continue to sell and are doing really well at it. These are all four sellers who are admins of a sourcing service called The List, which has been in existence for a year. I've been in The List, and basically it's where they post finds or inventory opportunities that you can purchase to make money, to sell and to make money on Amazon. I've been a member of a lot of lists since I've been an Amazon seller for 3 years. In fact, the entire time since I first started selling on Amazon, I joined lists from people that would produce inventory opportunities. Some are good, some are okay. I've actually never regretted being part of any of the lists that I've been part of because they've all helped me out. But the list that these four guys produce on a daily basis by far blows away any list that I've been a part of. And so I wanted to have them on. I just wanted to interview them, wanted to kind of pick their brain. Every time I talk to them, I always learn new stuff about Amazon, and I always learn how to become a better seller. So, if that's your desire, if you're already selling on Amazon, if you want to start selling on Amazon, then I think that you're going to find this hour very fruitful and very informative on how to continue to sell and then how to become a better seller on Amazon. So I'm going to introduce the first guest to you. You see him right here already. This is Curtis Batdorf. He is the lead admin of The List. He's been selling online for a long time, and I often use this phrase, but he has more knowledge of selling in his belly button than I have in my entire body. So hopefully he might share a little bit of his various selling experience with us tonight. But he has seen and he has done a lot of selling, and now he's really focused on selling on the Amazon platform. So he is a master sourcer, and he can find deals better than anyone that I've ever met. So Curtis, thanks a lot. Thanks for taking time tonight, and I look forward to talking with you. So tell us what's been going on.
Hey, how are you doing? Man, things have been great. Although I must admit, fourth quarter was difficult to say the least. They're busy kind of thing, and past couple of weeks have kind of been taking it a little bit slow, trying to catch my breath again, right? And want to hit 2016 really hard, but I'm starting to get back into the swing of things.
Cool.
So, just right off the top, you said about the list that we have, and this is like the January 12th was our 1-year anniversary. And so I want to say like a huge thank you to all our members. It's been one of the greatest things for a couple different reasons. One is just the opportunities to source this inventory. But all the members that we've had, that some that have come and gone, some have stayed with us the whole way through. Man, what a huge side benefit is just being able to interact with all those people, all those sellers. It's been an amazing thing. We have not only do we have the list where we provide the inventory opportunities, the IOs as we call them, but we also have a Facebook group for discussion about the items that are posted and just discussion about Amazon or whatever in general. And through that, through Facebook Messenger or text message, I've been in contact with all these people, and man, that contact alone has improved my business more than I could say. So worth it. And so I just want to say, thank you to you guys. I couldn't imagine how well things have worked. I never really anticipated that, and we're just all so appreciative of not only you guys being members, but the content and the discussion that you guys provide, and that you actually invest yourself and kind of make this thing work too. And I'm really thankful for that, and I really appreciate it. But I guess what I want to talk about a little bit is these kind of things, these, like Andy says, these lists, not only my own, but anyone out there, any kind of inventory service or services in general. Sometimes you hear people are afraid of the expense or of any expenses at all, kind of thing, because you're laying out that money, and what am I going to get in return? Or I have too many. I have a scanning app that I pay for. I have this list service. I have this, and I look at it in the opposite way, though. If you had an employee working for you and they prepped and packaged your stuff for Amazon, so that way you didn't have to do it, and you had to pay them, I don't know, like $2,000 a month. All right. Would you rather pay that employee $2,000 a month or have to pay them $5,000 a month? And what I mean by that is, I'd rather have to pay them $5,000 a month, because that means they're doing almost triple the work, right? So, expenses in themselves aren't a bad thing. The expense isn't bad if you're getting a return, right? So, as an Amazon seller, how much do you spend on inventory a month? Is it $1,000, $5,000, $20,000? You spend $10,000, and I know me, I would be happy with making $5,000 profit a month with that. So your expenses, being a reseller, it is a little bit scary, or a little bit, it's not the usual for a novice person to see all that money flowing through. It is a capital intensive business model. You got to have money and you have to spend the money, and it comes and goes. But we have to understand that expenses in themselves aren't really a bad thing. It's like taxes. I'd love to pay zero taxes if that was the law, but I know the more taxes I pay, it's because the more money I'm making. And so when you go and you look at these services, something like maybe an inventory service like we have, or even just your scanning app that you go when you do RA in a store and you scan different products, you have to look at those expenses and say, all right, I'm paying $200 a month, but what am I getting back? Am I making a return on that investment, kind of thing?
Well, hey, Curtis, let's talk real quick about, so Nate and I just did a show, and like it was like a top 10, basically how to be successful on Amazon. And I think my second point was that you have to buy inventory, right? Like if you want to be successful, instead of putting your money toward, which there's a lot of great third-party services and third-party software that will help you be more efficient. But if you're just starting out, my premise was you need a bootstrap, and as much as possible, you need to throw all, like any good retail, business would, you need to throw all of your money toward good inventory, right?
Sure.
And so that's why,
absolutely,
being part of lists are so key. You want to throw as much money as you can at purchasing good inventory.
Yeah. And, when I say about don't fear expenses, I think that's true. But there is one big caveat, and that is you have to do something with it. Don't just spend on information just for the sake of learning something. Not if you want to have a business, So your expenses are good. It's good to have the expenses. One, if you get value back. But two, if you, like you're saying, if you join a listing service and you pay X amount of dollars a month for these opportunities, then you have to go buy them, So there's more than just, I'm going to learn this information, or I'm going to pay for a course, let's say, or, that's great. And information's good too, but you have to put it in practice, and like you're saying, that's one of the, I guess, hurdles of this kind of business, is that you do actually have to go out and spend the money, spend the capital. And that, I'll be honest, that gets some, it takes getting used to. It's not the easiest thing right off the bat to spend $5,000 a day, or make that any number. Maybe it's 500 a day for you. Maybe it's 200 a day for you. Maybe it's 10,000, whatever number that is. But that's part of another topic too, where we can discuss in our time is separating your business from your personal spending and that kind of thing. Your personal spending, I wouldn't want to be spending $5,000 a day, but for a business, that's nothing, you know, especially depending on how big you are. But like you're saying, you know, you shouldn't fear having those expenses, fear these, like you said, myself included. Since I started FBA, I've belonged to either some groups or some list services, kind of, you know, in the beginning. I always have, and I think there's a great benefit to it. And those that don't see it that way, I think you're missing out. You know, and I'll just touch a little bit on that. There's some people who are very against an inventory service, you know, paid kind of groups and all this thing. And you hear it a lot. They say, well, I should subscribe to this list because then I know what not to buy, you know, like somehow we're going to destroy the opportunity by sharing it with some people. And to that, I say, if that were true, and if those people really had good business sense, they'd subscribe. You know, just think of the money they could save in bad purchases. If what they were saying was true, it would be worth it. So no matter what way you come from, if the value's there, you know, go ahead and spend your money. It's okay. You know, it can be a good thing. And just going back to this list thing this past year, we've witnessed it now. Now we have evidence. We have a track record of, you know, this has worked. This has worked. This has made people a lot of money. You know, I know, Andy, you can attest to that. Some of the things you've seen and you've bought, like you say, one item can pay for your whole year.
Yeah, so
you know, it can make you.
Since we're talking, like, since we're on this topic, I just want to let the people in the chat room know, because there may be some people who are new sellers who don't know how this works. But generally, most of the lists that people produce, you know, for you to buy products, a lot of them are sent out by email, and a lot of them have VAs, you know, like in the Philippines, that's like the place to get the best VAs who will source for them. The VAs will send them the fines, and then, you know, whoever has the list, they'll send those fines out. And generally what happens with those, it's kind of like whoever opens up their email first, you know, and a lot of times those products that are on there just aren't going to stay on there very long because they're taken, and it's just not the best, right? The way that and this is what I love about the list is all four of these guys, they post in real time. And so as they're sourcing for their Amazon business, that's how they're posting their finds to the list, which, again, if you're new and you're in the chat room, you got to understand there is no list like this out there. There's none that do it like that in real time, not one. And then here's the other part. And what's crazy is all of those lists that you get, right, that from somebody else, there's no name attached to the find, okay? And so it's just a generic item, and you have no idea who sourced it. Listen to me, there's no other list out there. These four guys, they attach their name to each find, okay? And so there's accountability there. So if you're a member, right, of this list, and one of these guys posts something that's garbage, you can call them out on it, right? You can say, man, that's garbage. Nobody else puts themselves out there like that, except for these four guys. And they've actually done it for an entire year. So they have great history, you know, to their finds. So anyway, that was just my little, you know, brag, I guess, on you guys.
No, you know, and I think the difference is too that all four of us still actively sell. This is what I do for a living. You know, I'm still dependent on FBA to make my money, and as well as the other three guys. And so it's important that we try to, you know, post things that I'm buying. I buy the stuff that I put out there. The other three guys, they buy the stuff that they post, you know, and hey, I have to look back, you know, I'm not everything I posted. I don't think everything, all of us posted have been a home run. but that's not the way it works. I mean, if you've been selling, and that's not the way it works, but you do look for that quality. We also try to cater to a lot of different business models and styles. You know, we have averaged over 250, sometimes over 300 IOs or inventory opportunities, products, you know, every month. That's a lot. That's a lot to pick and choose what you like, or, you know, or what works for you, kind of thing. Really talking about our members again, and this, I don't think enough is said about how this helps set the list apart, is that our members are buyers. They buy and they sell. And why that's important, we can post something and there may only be, you know, 150 left from wherever retailer we're buying from. Our members, if we can post that quick, and like Andy says, in real time, instead of an email every morning or every Friday or however you get it, our members see that. They're real sellers. They're good sellers. They're great sellers. And they buy up all that product. And guess what? Now it's gone. You know, because we bought it. Our list, our members, they bought it. And being able to have, you know, the number of members we do with the strength and the capital that they have, it makes a big difference. We can post things and know that, hey, our members, our good sellers, they're going to control this product now, and they're going to wipe it out. And if we can post that at 2:00 in the morning live when it gets found, that's when we do it. Or in the middle of the day, in the afternoon, in the evening, you know, we post these things as they happen, as they're found, as they come out. And I think that's been a great benefit for our service.
Awesome. All right. Well, hey, Curtis, I'm gonna just mute you right now. And Randy, if you can call in, I'm gonna bring on Randy Reynolds. This is another admin of the list, and we're gonna talk to him for a little bit. Randy, I call the professor because his ability for analysis is unmatched, in my opinion. Out of all the Amazon sellers that I've met, Randy can analyze every situation, every product, right, in a million different ways, better than anyone I've met. So, Randy, thanks for joining us. And how you doing?
Doing great. How about you?
Good. So, talk to us a little bit, Randy, just about Amazon, about selling. You know, how your 2015 is, and you know what you think about moving forward 2016.
Well, 2015 was a great year. You know, we started the list, and it actually worked into my plans very well. Every January, we usually take a step back and look at our previous year and say, what are we going to do different in the coming year? And last year, one of the things I was looking at was a little more OA, because I was starting to get tired of being out there. I wanted to get into shoes, and you know, I wanted to really be able to raise my average selling price. So those were pretty much the major things I was looking at doing for the year, and I was able to do those. Last year we sold, I think we're up 20%, but I sold 10% less items. And that translates into more money for me, because I didn't have to process thousands of extra items. I didn't have those costs that were involved. Working with the list has been great because it disciplined me. It came around just the right time to make me actually sit in front of the computer and do online sourcing. And it was kind of thing that I would do some, kind of drop off a little bit, but you know, now I have a reason I got to be on there every day doing that.
Hey, Randy, real quick, just for folks that are new, possibly new to selling on Amazon, when Randy says OA, he means like online arbitrage. And that's basically, and this is what the four of these guys do. They comb, you know, there's thousands and tens of thousands of websites out there that sell things, right? And these four guys comb those websites and find the price differences. And so, you know, there may be, we'll just give an example. There may be a Lego that's selling, you know, at this website for $10, but on Amazon, it's selling for $30. And so when they find those products, then they post those products in the list, right? And then that gives people like me, who's a member of the list, an opportunity to purchase that product. So that's what these guys do. When we're talking about the list, we're talking about the finds just like that Randy, Curtis, David, and Chris will post that allow us to purchase them. So go ahead, Randy. I didn't mean to interrupt your flow.
No, that's fine. Whatever. This year we're looking at putting a little more automation into the business because to continue to expand, there's only so much time that I have. I'm training one of my daughters to manage a lot of the things that I do on the day-to-day basis, to do pricing, repricing, handle the repricer, because I hate doing that stuff. And my time can be better spent mostly on obtaining inventory, because that's really the lifeblood of the business, is to be able to get inventory in. Just had our second shipment go live in the UK, so now I'm sourcing OA for both places, which makes it a little more interesting now. Having to check 2 different marketplaces and look at the differentials and do Amazon US to Amazon UK flips. So the game became a little more interesting this year.
Hey, Randy, talk to us a little bit about Amazon UK. You just joined. Why did you decide to join UK, like over joining, maybe Amazon Canada or some other platform?
Well, the UK market allows you to expand pretty much throughout Europe. Although there are several other European marketplaces, if you get on Amazon UK, I think the thing I clicked in my account said like 17 or 27. It's all these countries that can be exported with it going into one fulfillment center in the UK. Right now, the competition is less over there. There are some things that are some pretty good price differentials on. I'm sure there'll be the gold rush of people, rushing over there in the future. But compared to something like Amazon Canada, which the taxes in Canada totally baffled me, I was looking at Canada as a very large landmass, but not really that big of a market. Eventually we may look at doing that. I probably would be interested in Japan before that, just to be able to get into the Asian market, but that's way down the road. Trying to focus on just a couple of things at a time, because it's so easy in this business to have all these opportunities, all these shiny objects, and if you chase after this one, that one, eventually you don't get anything done.
So, Randy, talk to us a little bit about, those in the chat room that know me, I'm a big private label guy. However, this fourth quarter, I made a very strategic decision to put a lot of my capital toward online arbitrage buys. And so, toward retail buys. So last fourth quarter, I was like 95%, of my private label products. This fourth quarter, I really stopped sourcing PL, and I really wanted to try to focus on getting as much name brand product right into the warehouse. And it boggles my mind. My sales were way up, from the previous year. And a lot of that had to do with those online buys. And so even though there seems to be more sellers coming in Amazon, it just seems like the opportunities are still there to continue to make a lot of really good money just purchasing stuff off of, I'll give a tip here for those in the chat room. I bought a ton of stuff from Kohl's. And if you use the % off, right, with the Kohl's cash, a lot of very profitable stuff that made me a lot of really good money. And so, what's your thought process on that? It just seems like there's still a lot of opportunity out there.
There's a ton of especially during fourth quarter. What I'm finding this is my fourth quarter, and it used to be in fourth quarter you could come in and say everyone's down at $50. Well, I'll just put it at 70 and it's going to get there. I found I don't do that anymore. I go in and I look at where I can sell it if I've got a little bit of cushion, and I get in there and get out and get my money, and don't try to, one thing is I'm holding too many SKUs to watch. So, once you get past where you can watch all of your SKUs, it's just easier to get in, set the repricer where what's acceptable, and then get out. And just there's tremendous volume to be had during fourth quarter. People are just buying insane, and they're paying insane prices for some things, but they're just buying lots of stuff. My biggest mistake this year was not really going heavy into toys earlier. Next year, I'll probably start pushing the toys about 3 or 4 weeks earlier, because people who listen to our other Spreecast or whatever early, I was pretty much out of toys for most of the year. Was getting back in for Q4, but this thing with Amazon, they seemed to slow down. Then things were put up where they weren't in the fulfillment center. It just got really squirrely in there near the end. And I would like to have more toy inventory probably loaded right at the beginning of Q4 rather than where I was putting in mostly early to mid-November.
Got it. So, and I've heard that from a number of sellers, like, their game plan is definitely to get that inventory in there earlier than what they've been able to do previous years.
Yeah, because part of it we can control. If you get it in there early, at least it's in a fulfillment center. Now, that other thing with taking your stuff that had been sitting in a fulfillment center for 2 months and deciding to move it suddenly, after Black Friday, I think that affected a lot of people where their stuff that should have been available suddenly became back ordered. But there's nothing we can do. It's their playground, and we have to just go with whatever rules they have.
Right. Hey, so 1 second, Randy. Cody, I see you're trying to call in. If you want, maybe toward the end of the show, we'll let you call in. You can ask a question live in person. When we're done here with Randy, about 5 more minutes, we're going to bring on David, and then we're going to do Chris. And then after that, if we have time, you definitely feel free to call in, and you can ask your question live. So, Randy, so you're going to the UK. You see that as, a market opportunity. What other kind of things in 2016 are you focusing on?
2016 systems. Putting things, taking some time next month to put things into systems because systems can be taught to other people. And I can step back from parts of my business if I'm able to train people to do it. I can't do everything and continue to grow. So, this past year, I hired one of my daughters one of them works for us and has for years, doing all our prep and ship on the in-house. Went to using a prep and ship company. Now I have, I think it was right before Q4, my other daughter started sourcing in store for me. So she's doing that. Now she's being trained to take over some other things. But to be able to step back from things so that I can do what's more profitable, I have to get these systems in place. So that's what my Q1 is going to be about, is just really putting everything together so that I can hand it over.
That's awesome. And just so folks, again, who maybe don't know us, who are in the chat room, all of these guys, myself included, we all operate our businesses out of our home, and we all have 5-figure businesses, okay? And so that's what's great about Amazon. You can really scale it up. If you want to get a warehouse, and you're really aggressive and you want to build a business like that, you can do that. And there's a lot of Amazon sellers that do that. If you want to make a really good living, right, like the 5 of us do selling on Amazon, but you just want to do it out of your house, you can do that as well. And especially because of all the third-party services now, the prep and ship companies that, it allows you to grow. I sold $875,000 this year. Yeah, 5-figure profit. That's right. I don't want to get that mixed up. It is a 5-figure profit. I sold $875,000 this year from the basement of my house. Did a lot of the shipping, packing myself, but also utilized third-party services. Randy, I know that you've been in the business world a long time. I know that you've taught business classes. What's your overall, again, just when you look at Amazon, what are your feelings about it? What's your feelings about the potential?
I think the way Amazon is growing and changing, I think there's like unlimited opportunity with them. whether it be in the U.S. or as they move to different parts of the world. As long as sellers are willing to adapt and put their energy into going with the system, the things that Amazon is putting out there as opportunities or things that are changing, and maybe not spend a lot of time focusing on the negative part of it, but where's the opportunity? There's tons of it out there.
Awesome. Great. All right. So you guys have never met Randy Reynolds. Now you can say you know him. You saw him right here on Blab. Again, he's one of the admins of the list. I just have tremendous amount of respect for him. I learn, again, new stuff about how to sell better on Amazon every time I talk to him. Randy, thanks again. I think Randy will probably be in the chat room. If anyone has questions, feel free to put them in there. And we're going to bring David on right now. Thanks, Randy. So this is David Hawkins. David is coming to us from Missouri. And I interviewed David approximately almost close to 2 years ago when I saw him post in a few Facebook groups. He was in Hawaii at the time on vacation with his wife, and they were sourcing there, and they were doing really well. So I said, hey, David, would you mind doing an interview? And he did, and that was 2 years ago. And David has continued to build his Amazon business ever since then. He was a full-time accountant. He threw away the corporate world to become a seller on Amazon, and he's enjoying it. He travels all over the U.S. along with his wife, purchasing products, doing what Amazon sellers call retail arbitrage. And again, he just is a tremendous sourcer. So David, thanks again for hanging out with us.
Hey, Andy, thanks for having me. Always good to talk with you. And gosh, I love hearing what Randy always has to say, too. You always hear something new that Randy's up to. And he makes me smarter just being in the same blab with him, I'll say. So
yeah, well, even just like the systems piece. I love that he always has a plan,
Right.
And that to me, I actually have to get better systems for my business. To get better, I have to get better systems.
I hear you. I'll have to spend a couple of days with Randy down in North Carolina.
So, hey, tell us, David, I know we talked a little bit last week about your idea that you feel like, sellers, they should really master, one sourcing discipline before they move or expand to others.
Yeah, I think I was hoping to briefly talk on that, I'll meet some new sellers. I'll speak to a group of sellers or be at a conference or even some of the Facebook groups, and got some really eager beavers that want to jump in right away. They want to do retail arbitrage, online, wholesale, and your holy grail, Andy, the private label. I'll meet some sellers that they've never sold a day in Amazon in their life. They don't have an account, but they are going to come up with the greatest product ever and go source it out of China and bring it right to Amazon without having the experience of actually knowing how Amazon works. And as you and Curtis know, there's a lot of intricacies in bringing any product to market on Amazon and selling anything on the Amazon marketplace. So my suggestion when I talk to a new seller is, I know that's the sexy thing to do right now, is to get your own product, have no other competition on that exact item, and go straight that way and make $1 million. But I still hold to, I'll say that going to the basic level, and that's what people say I do, is the retail arbitrage. You go into a store, whether it's your basic Target, Walmart, you look at clearance, you look at what's out there. But that's really how you learn Amazon. You learn the categories, you learn the rankings, you learn competition, pricing, and the Amazon rules and regulations. What's allowed to be FBA, what's liquid, what needs polybag. I mean, without knowing the basics, there's so many pitfalls that people can end up with, I don't know, a $30,000 product that ends up not being able to be sold on Amazon, sitting in their basement, and their business is over right there. So master the basics first. And I've been selling on Amazon for 4 years now, and I haven't done a private label product. I haven't contacted a wholesaler. So sometimes doing the basics, you're going to find out that that's what you like to do, that there's a lot of money to be made in retail arbitrage and online arbitrage. And I guess to tie that into the list service, I think that's what makes our service beneficial to whether it's a 7-figure, 8-figure seller that is looking to diversify into some retail or online opportunities, or even your newer sellers only had an account for a couple months that is maybe just maybe a little confused on, they've got a little bit of capital but don't know where to buy. And that's really where I think we've been able to, in the last year, help that smaller seller out, just to kind of give them an idea. And even if they don't end up buying every product that we put on there, which would be at least 10 to 12 products a day, they're seeing a constant stream of what we're buying, and they're seeing different categories, different sources that we're buying them at, and seeing our methodology and thought processes into putting those up there.
Well, and this is what I love, and I shared earlier, I've been a part of a list ever since I started selling on Amazon, not the list, but other sourcing lists. Sure. And it seems to me, especially when I was first starting out, even if there were some posts on there that weren't that good, it was still helping me learn basically how to source. And that's what I think is awesome about the list, is it accelerates that learning curve. And basically, if you're a member, you're kind of a part of a mastermind in a sense, where you're learning all these different sources, as well as how you guys think about the posts.
Yeah. I've learned I'm an admin of the list, but I've told Curtis and Chris Bond and Randy, if you guys want to kick me out tomorrow, that's fine, but I still want to be a member, because I learn every day. I'm like, oh man, Curtis is always up on the hottest toy line. He's like, hey, this just got into Toys R Us today. Like, that's not my expertise, but now I've got that information. So when next time I'm out, I'm in Toys R Us, I'm getting what Curtis was. Or Randy will throw on a product from, I don't know, a website like I'd never heard of before, Sierra Trading Post or something that I never heard of it, but now it's part of my routine when I go and start looking. So, that's the benefit that I've gained as being an admin, is to learn from these other smart guys.
Well, what would you say to sellers? Because we talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the show, that, really one of the foundations, right, a cornerstone of the Amazon business is acquiring inventory. So talk to us a little bit about that, because I know that's what you do, David. You're out there and your head is always thinking about what good inventory can I acquire?
That is the real key. You make your money on the buy. And the more and more you do this, the more experience you have, the better your buys get. And so it can be nerve-wracking. I think Curtis mentioned it, going into a store and checking out with a basket of worth $1,000. But if you know that $1,000 is going to turn into $3,000, $4,000, it makes it doesn't really feel like real money at that time. It's just, you're going to get that back. And if you're buying the right stuff, you're going to get that back in the next 3 to 6 weeks. If you low ranked, priced competitively. I mean, to me, there's no other opportunity out there with such quick turnaround for your capital. And one thing I also tell people for retail arbitrage is, if you're buying the right stuff at the right prices, the downside risk is very low. Usually the worst that happens is a bunch of sellers jump on something and you end up breaking even, losing $1 or $2. It's rare that you're going to take a 50% loss on a product. But you try to tell someone that with a real estate investor, stocks, any kind of equity, that their downside risk is that company goes down to zero. You lose all your money in another kind of investment. But with retail arbitrage and online buying, the risk I still contend is low. So even when you're spending that $1,000, even if you did it poorly, you're probably going to come away with $950 or $1,000 at the end of the day.
Awesome. Well, hey, real quick, I have a question. So I see, Matt, you said MLM Blab. No, this is not an MLM. We hate MLMs, and this is the furthest thing from MLM. This, what we're talking about, puts calluses on your hands. So it's dealing with retail. It's hard work. It's nothing. It's no type of MLM. Dean, I see you're trying to get in. We will bring you on at the end of the show for questions. I'm going to bring on Chris Bond here in a second. So if you want to ask a question live, definitely you can do that as soon as we get Chris Bond comes on. So Steve has a question, Dave. He says, do you see retail arbitrage as a sustainable long-term strategy? Talk to us a little bit about that.
I've got that question before, and it depends on what you mean by sustainable. And my wife and I have been doing this since 2012 full time. So that's 4 full years that we've done it, 12, 13, 14, and now we're going into our 5th year in 2016, and we have made we've made a lot of money, and it's to me it's sustainable. We keep finding. There's always a new product out there. There's always a market inefficiency that I can buy it cheaper somewhere around me or online than what the going rate on Amazon is. Now, does Amazon come in down the road and change the rules? I can't predict that. We hope not. But, the marketplace is always changing. But, since there's been commerce, thousands of years, there's always been inefficiencies. And exploiting those is really what is at the heart of retail arbitrage. So to me, yes, it is a sustainable business. Will it always continue the way it is today with Amazon FBA? I don't know, but we're going to ride the wave for as long as we can. And I couldn't be happier with what we've got going on in our business.
Yeah, so hopefully, David, that answers your question. And I agree, I agree with David 100% that this type of market inequities, right, supply and demand, they've been going on for, many, many years. And I think that they're going to continue to go on. What someone might be able to get, and they're, I'll give you a perfect example. So Chris has up here, how about them star showers? So if you were in on the star showers 4th quarter, the star showers were those laser lights that people were putting on their homes. And, you could get them, I think, for 40, and they were selling for like 100. And people were just making, no kidding, people were making thousands of dollars on these laser light things that people were putting on their house. And the funny thing is, and Dave, you could tell me if you agree, I think every year, I always wonder. So if I get in on the hot product, I always wonder what the next product is going to be next year. And is there going to be a product next year? And it seems like every year there is.
There's always something. And that's what makes, that's why one reason I love retail arbitrage is I can be nimble. I can find that, I can be going after toys one day, but then the star shower is a perfect example. Is the price went from like $55 to $90 in one day, and we were able to change our business quickly, send out 2 buyers that we have working for us to gather up as many star showers we could in Kansas City. And I think we ended up selling about 300 or 400 of those. And I think we made about a $12,000 profit just on that one product. So, and that doesn't count anything else that we'd already sent in for FBA, but a private label or a wholesale, if you had a wholesale account with the manufacturer, you wouldn't have been able to get any more of those products. But to be able to be nimble, to get in and out of that hot product, it worked out for us. And you're right. Now we're on the lookout for what's the next thing. And it's not just Q4. And that's where my wife and I, when we're traveling around, we're scooping up those hot products that maybe aren't quite as popular with the masses as Star Shower, but that's what we do all day, every day almost, it seems.
Yeah, so if you're just in the chat room again, if you're just getting started on Amazon, it is kind of cool. You know, those don't make up the majority of our business, but they definitely add a good amount to the bottom line. And so another really cool toy that was kind of outed and selling for a crazy amount was this toy called Pie Face. So if you've heard of that one, and they were in all the retail stores, Target, Walmart, all over. And, you know, at the height, you could buy those and you were netting between like $15 and $20. And for a little bit, you were netting even more than that. And it was just a simple toy, you know, in a box like the size of a Monopoly box. So those are out there. All right. Well, Dave, I'm going to try to put Chris on. And thanks again for hanging out with us. And again, I think Dave is going to stay around. If anyone has questions for him, throw them in the chat room and he'll answer those. So we'll talk to you later, David.
All right. Thanks.
All right, Chris, we're going to try to get Chris in. He's in Nebraska, and so we couldn't get him on earlier. Chris, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
We can, but there's like major echo there. I'm going to have to bump you off if you can't get rid of the echo. Yeah, there's
better.
Okay. How does that sound, Curtis?
How does that sound, Curtis? Now I can't hear you. You're probably muted.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Sounds great.
Okay. Everyone in the chat room, if you hear like any kind of audio issues, just let us know. But it's coming through loud and clear here. So Chris, talk to us a little bit. If you guys, let me just introduce you to everyone. So this is Chris Bond. He is a world traveler, and he also is a Amazon seller traveler. So he lives in Nebraska, rural Nebraska, and he'll travel all over as well. Purchasing product just like David did. He's been a long time seller on Amazon. Again, just tremendous nose for sourcing. And so same way, every time I talk to him, I always learn something. So Chris, tell us a little bit how your 2015 is and where you see 2016 taking you.
I had a pretty good 2015. I'm really excited for 2016. I'm been pumped up for it, waiting for it to happen. I've just felt there's really good things ahead of us. My business is in a really good position. I've got, like what Randy was saying, systems. I've been working on systems over the last multiple years, but getting these in place to give myself more free time to chase other ventures and such. I've got some clear goals. I think that's important for all of us, is to know where we're going. Anytime you go on a road trip, as a simple example, a lot of times more people spend more time focusing on that vacation that they're going to go on compared to what direction they're going in life. And I think it's good for all of us to have a clear direction of what we want and be able to chase that.
Awesome. So what are some things that you if it's a newer seller, or maybe a seller's been selling for less than 6 months, like what's some of your advice to Amazon sellers that are at that level?
All right. Well, so I was thinking a lot about this blab coming up, and I was looking back at my business when I very first started. And I mean, I had 2 pennies to rub together, and it's a similar story to other people. We were just sick and tired of being where we were at in life, and we were looking for that other avenue. And I started out on eBay, as many people did. I started out in thrift stores and auctions. And when I very first started, things were real easy, as far as there wasn't a lot of different directions. There wasn't a lot of pieces to my puzzle at the time. And as I became more experienced and delved into different areas of the business, be it eBay or be it Amazon or FBA, merchant fulfilling, whatever it is, each one of those sections has more responsibilities that you need to you need to encompass. And I look at where I am now, and there's no way that I could do all my bookkeeping anymore. I've outsourced my bookkeeping. There's no way that I could even sourcing. The list has been a great addition to my arsenal of being able to find products. repricers, all these little keys that we can reach out and grab will add to our business. And as a new seller, we don't necessarily have all of this stuff, but as you become more and more experienced, at what time in your business career do you reach out and get a list, like a listing service like Inventory Lab or ScanPower? At what point do you hire somebody on with you? So as we grow, we need to go back to what Randy was just saying, build more systems and free up our time, because ultimately our time is the most valuable thing that we have, and we want to be able to utilize that as best as possible.
Chris, real quick, there's a question here. I think it's a great question. It says, tell us about your experience finding deals with good ROI Q1 to Q3, where most of the new sellers are doing a race to the bottom.
So from experience, I've come out of fourth quarter quite a few times, and you get those Q4 clearance sales where stores are just dumping everything. And in the previous years, I've jumped in on a lot of that. And come August and November, I'm still sitting on this stale inventory that all raced to the bottom, and I didn't race to the bottom with it. I was waiting for a rebound. It's good to be able to identify those types of items. And this year, for example, I've stayed away from a lot of that because I recognize it. The first quarter to third quarter, a lot of the items, they don't have the same velocity as what Q4, what the item will have in Q4. So how do you analyze that, and how deep do you go? That would be another issue with it. It's really just look at each item and what's your risk tolerance. I mean, we all have different risk tolerances, and that's what it really comes down to. How much are you willing to wager on this in order to gain however much?
All right, excellent. So do you have a different routine, for doing RA when it comes to Q1, Q3? Do you still go to the same stores? Just like, can you give us some nuts and bolts around that?
It's been mentioned I'm in central Nebraska, don't have much around me here. So typically when I get on the road, I'll go out for 3, 4, 5, 6 days on a regular adventure. And when I hit a town, be it Omaha or Kansas City, Denver, when I hit those regions, I just start out at the basic stores, Walmart's, Target's, Walgreens, what have you. And I just get on the trail of whatever it is, because each time I go out, it's different. It's in a different region, a different zone. And so I just have to get on the trail of something. At the time, I'm going to analyze the deal just like any other time. I mean, maybe during Q4, I'm willing to buy deeper, take more risk because I understand what fourth quarter brings. But throughout the rest of the year, what's the competition? What's my buy price? What's my return? Basic things that I'm going to look at. For a new seller, I guess it really depends on how deep your pockets are. I mean, how much do you have to invest? How much are you making?
Chris, okay, so I'm gonna ask you one more question here because we're coming up almost on 10 o'clock. I'm gonna bump Curtis back on. Can you give me, though, before you leave, give me the top thing that you think an Amazon seller needs to be successful? Top attribute.
Starting out, I think it's just discipline, being able to do the self-discipline, doing what you need to do, even though you don't feel like doing it. Get up every day and source, get up every day and list product. Every single day you have to do this over and over and over again. And after a while, patterns form and you figure out where to outsource stuff and shave corners and such. But yeah, I think it really comes down to self-discipline, because if you don't show up to work, Andy, but I do, I'm already ahead of you. I mean, if you don't show up to the race, I win. All
right. Awesome. Excellent. Well, you guys, that is Chris Bond. All right. Again, he is one of the admins of the list. Tremendous Amazon seller, tremendous sourcer. So now you can say that you know Chris Bond. He's on Facebook. He's in a lot of different groups. Feel free to hit him up. All right. And if you're in Nebraska, I'm sure that he'll meet up with you, and he'll probably buy you breakfast or dinner or lunch.
Nobody comes to Nebraska.
All right. We'll talk to you a little later.
Good night, guys.
All right, so I'm going to bring Curtis back on. Curtis, I was just wondering if you could answer this question here
Sure.
in the chat room. So she says, with the subscription list, what we're talking about, what's the minimum ROI? And earlier, somebody talking about live deals. If you're a full-time Amazon seller, that would work out. However, the people who have full-time jobs, doing it with this little delay, it'll be OOS. So share your insights on how that works.
Sure. That actually speaks, that question's perfect for what I want to say here at the end. As far as the list of service that we have, our minimum ROI is like 40, but we've averaged like 80 some percent over the past year. So, which I think is pretty darn good. But she kind of talks about a point where that I want to hit on is, and I think all three of those guys mentioned it, and that's time. I think we provide value for anyone. We provide a good service, but in the end, what we really help you maximize is your time. I don't know how much are you worth an hour. Some days I'm not worth too much, and I wouldn't be maybe $5 an hour, but other days, my time's easily worth a couple hundred an hour, maybe more, 1,000 an hour. And if you're worth $100 an hour, well, let's say $200. So can you source product in 2 hours, or do you want 5 full-time Amazon seller source a product for you all month long? There's that right there. But to your point, when think of it this way, part-time sellers, that's not a bad word. As a matter of fact, I think there's a lot of admiration for people who say they sell full-time. You're like, oh, I would love to do that. Have my full-time job being an Amazon seller, and it is great. Don't get me wrong, but I admire those people who are part-time sellers that also have a regular full-time job. I don't know how some of you guys do it. Some of you guys are working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, going to the office or whatever it is you're doing, and you come home at night and you're selling, and you're working the weekend, selling on Amazon or that kind of thing. Really, I think there's a number of our members who are like that. They work like crazy. They have their normal job like everybody does, and they do extra, and they use, in part, the list service, to help them get that extra. So I understand when you're saying, now I have a full-time job, I can't be with my phone, all day long, all night, and getting these deals. And yeah, that's true. You're going to miss out on some of those things when you have other responsibilities. But you're also going to hit things, when you are at home, when you are ready to purchase.
Well, Curtis, I would say and I could be wrong here, but I think a good majority of the posts happen probably between like 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. during the day.
Actually, yeah,
probably
that's
at least
true.
half, because I think that Randy has said this before, that you guys really do try to break it up, because you realize that there are some people that are working during the day and can't necessarily get that Facebook PM.
And while you might not have a post come in at your ideal hour, compare it to another service that sends you an email once in the morning or once every Friday. By the time you get that, or by the time you're able to access it, those deals that I've put in an email, maybe hours and hours or days old. So what's nice, we run this through through a Facebook group. We do send out spreadsheets weekly, but we also provide a Facebook group that gives you these real-time posts. And one of the best things is you can access it on your phone. You can buy from your phone. You know, it's a little odd maybe at first, but believe me, I'm used to it. I spend a lot of money just with my cell phone. You know, I personally do for my cell phone. And that's one of the things that makes it great. You know, yeah, you do work, but hey, when you're lunch hour, you got a few notifications that this and this is available. And, man, in 15 minutes, you make a couple $100, you know, kind of thing. It's there is no magic pill or easy way, you know, especially when you're working full time, it is much more difficult. And like I said, I admire those people. That's a lot of people have work a lot harder, you know, than maybe I do, or they use a lot more of their time. And so, you know, in the end, services like these, like the one we run, really can help you save the time, you know, and even if you access it a couple times a week kind of thing, and not just the list service, but any list, any kind of sourcing service, any kind of paid Bolo group kind of thing, you know, those things can be helpful. Don't dismiss them because of some negative things you've heard or whatnot. I'll ask you, Andy. I know we talk about this a lot, and it applies to the three guys you just saw speak, and it applies to, I would say, 99% of all serious FBA sellers that have been doing it for a number of years. Andy, have you heard of any full-time seller not growing, not increasing their profit year over year? I don't. We're all, I mean, you know, a lot of people want to talk about, oh, yeah, you experience sellers dropping prices and sellers coming in on listings. And there's a lot of new sellers that do this that we don't like or do that we don't like, you know. But still, there is no game like this one. You know, there's no opportunity to make money as easily and with less risk than what Amazon FBA can bring. And all the sellers I know that have a head about them and that have been selling, they're growing year over year. They all are. They all are. So there's no new sellers that are going to ruin this kind of thing. You know, you change, you adapt, and as long as you work hard, I don't see anyone that wants a big full-time seller all of a sudden, oh man, Amazon's ruined for me now. You know, all these new people have ruined it. It's just not happening. I'm sorry.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. We're going to go ahead and we're going to close up the blab. If you guys have questions though, again, feel free to put them in right now. We will answer them.
You know what? Just one last thing.
Yeah.
Speaking of hiring on help, I just want to give a thumbs up to Lexus. She hasn't been that good yet, but she'll get better. That's it.
Awesome. So, hey, you guys, the URL is thelistishere.com. If you're interested, there is a few openings and not a lot of openings. So if you're interested, you know, you need to get in. There is it's a pretty long waiting list. We do have openings though from time to time. I'm just going to end with what Curtis said there, that there is still a ton of opportunity to make money selling on Amazon. Somebody put it earlier in the chat room that, you know, it seems like there's more sellers coming in. However, there are more customers coming in. You know, if you were in some of the Facebook groups, you saw that the Prime was dropped down like $30 or something because Amazon wants more Prime members. It's still, the deal is it's still only 10% of all goods are purchased online, 10%. So that means 90% are bought in retail locations. However, it's going up 20 to 30% every year. And so, you know, I tell people this all the time. We are still at the ground level. The rocket ship is still taking off. We only have 10%, right, of the market share right now. And so it can go nowhere but up. All right. So, you know, if you're a veteran Amazon seller, you've seen that. If you're just getting into the ball game, just realize that you're still getting in at a great time. And the whole key to this is being able to purchase right inventory. All right. It's not just throwing anything in your Amazon account, because if you throw crap in your Amazon account, it's not going to sell. People aren't going to buy it. But if you're putting inventory into your Amazon account that those Amazon customers are searching for, and thankfully, because Amazon gives us the BSR, we can see that really easily, guaranteed your stuff will sell. In the 3 years that I've been selling it, I've maybe had 0.001% of product not sell. So that means that I had to call it back, or I had to drop the price down to a ridiculously low price. The 99.89%, it sells because it's such a growing marketplace and people love Amazon. I just said this the other day. If you know anything about Amazon, the reason why people buy on Amazon is because Jeff Bezos made it a customer-centric company. He is relentless in his pursuit to make Amazon a trusted marketplace. That's why sellers like you and I can charge a premium for our product. It's because customers trust Amazon. If you return a package right now, you don't have to put anything on the outside of it. You go through your Amazon account, UPS checks it in. Here's the crazy part. Amazon immediately debits your account. So you don't even have to wait for your return product to get back to Amazon. And customers like that. And that's why it's a growing marketplace. So I got on my soapbox there. But we'll end the blab on that. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you guys have learned like I always do when I talk to these 4 sellers. And if you are interested at all in the list, again, the URL is thelistIshere.com. You can go there. You can look at it. You can read about it. It is a phenomenal sourcing list. All right. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Thanks again so much for hanging out with us. Thanks, Curtis, for hanging out. And we will talk to you later. All right. Good night, everyone.